Let me give a little preface before I get into the 8 people with the most to gain.
Okay.
I have learned over the last few years that there might not be a single more influential broadcast on setting the tone for a season than the Week 1 opening night broadcast with Chris Collinsworth and what he focuses on.
That's actually true.
And people are so, I'm not, this is a compliment to him and Tirico, and
yes,
people are so primed and starved for football. It was, a few years ago, Collinsworth created the NHF, not his fault interceptions. We still talk about it. Last year, Jawan Taylor's penalties. Now, Jawan was a highly penalized player, but I think it even primed the refs who were then on the lookout for it.
The fact that he jumped every single time.
Well, that too, but so does Lane Johnson. Nobody cares.
He's not the first,
and
right.
so, for the most to gain, I tried to think about who do I think Collinsworth is going to point out and take a, you know what I mean, make a big jump. So coming in at number 8, one of the most important people in the league this year that no one has talked about, rookie left tackle for the Chiefs, Kingsley Suamataia. So here's what I think is going to happen. I think in the first quarter, Chris Collinsworth is going to introduce America to him. This is the guy Andy Reid has trusted to protect Patrick Mahomes' blind side. They both went to BYU. They had a first-round grade on him. And now listen, it could go the other way for him, but if he does well against that Ravens front, then all of a sudden it's like, wow, the Chiefs have their left tackle on a rookie contract. Number 7, this one's a little more obvious, Travis Kelce. He lit the Ravens on fire in the playoffs last year. They will show those numbers in the broadcast. 11 targets, 11 catches, 116 yards and a touchdown. And keep in mind, he didn't get to play in the banner game last year because he had hurt his knee right before it. So I think he's going to be extra fired up. Kyle Hamilton, Roquan Smith trying to deal with him. He's at number 7. There'll be some Ravens in a moment, but at number 6, Xavier Worthy. This is going to be another Chris Collinsworth guy. Let me tell you, Mike, this guy's so fast. It's going to be a lot of that. We're going to see the 40-yard dash time, and if there is just one play where he breaks it open over the top of the field, that will be absolutely. And by the way, bonus prediction, I think his mother makes a cameo on the broadcast when they're talking about it. Number 5, Zay Flowers, the redemption arc. You know that we are going to get, certainly in pregame and likely during the game, the sequence of him making the big play to get him in the red zone and then the fumble. And the broadcast will do what all of media has done, which is pretend the fumble changed the game and not Lamar's interception a few plays later. Listen, and they're going to remind people, listen, Mike, L'Jarius Sneed not on the Chiefs anymore to punch that ball out. Number 4, Isaiah Pacheco. This will be uttered on the broadcast. This is one of the most underrated running backs in all of football. Why don't we talk more about Isaiah Pacheco? And I think Brew is, or Wild, you're on to something, that the Ravens' number 1 game plan today is going to be, I don't care what Roquan Smith said, don't let him beat us over the top. And the running lanes are going to be open. See if Andy takes advantage of it. And if Pacheco can be the most notable back on the field, because if not, number 3, Derrick Henry, he is going to be a featured star of this game. I know the Ravens hope it, certainly of the broadcast, but also there is, I think, a fair level of concern of, is he going to have the Adrian Peterson post-30 career arc, or everybody else's of the last decade, which is 30 years old, changed teams, numbers have slowly dipped, and all of a sudden you fall off a cliff. He is 4-2 in his career against the Chiefs. All of those games were the Titans. He beat the Chiefs in a playoff game once, the last game they played without Mahomes in the postseason. Could he be the difference? Last year, the time of possession in this game was 38-22. Could he be the difference? I know Brew hopes so. All right, now you're looking at the top 2, and you're like, the 2 most important, the stars haven't been listed. And you are correct. At number 2, Nick Wright. So many banners. There will be, so many banners will be dropped tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, what are you talking about? If the Chiefs win? Yeah, so many banners.
It should be
that's
one
like
banner.
the Lakers dropping the in-season
tournament. They did, and they did.
If they had won other championships.
You know what, and they did. And then at number 1, Lamar Jackson. He's got to get this monkey off his back. He's got to play great against Patrick, beat Patrick. I know they have won the one time, but they've lost a couple times since then. And make Kansas City feel like they have to press all year in the home field advantage back. Smart. Baltimore wins this game, and Kansas City's staring at Cincinnati next week, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, man. Like, are we going to be chasing all year like we were last year? I don't have Patrick on there because I don't think he can gain much in a regular season game anymore at this point in his career. So, Coach, those...
Okay, so let's talk about this. First off, before I start too much, I think what I'm going to try to do, by the way, if I don't, I apologize, but I think I'm going to do this an hour before the game. So whatever time, whatever time zone you're in, it's an hour before kickoff. I'm going to go live and just kind of hang out. I've never done it before, so, we'll see what it looks like. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe I'm just sitting in there talking to no one, but just to kind of talk about the pregame leading up to it, just question, answer, just kind of hanging out, see how that lands, if that does anything, if people enjoy it or not, maybe continue to do it for like Thursday night games, Monday night games. So I figured I'd try it out, see what happens. So just wanted to throw that out there. So no matter what time you're going to be watching the game at, an hour before, so I guess technically 7, 6, or 5, depending on where you are within the country. But okay. So yeah, first off, Nick Wright has nothing to gain tonight. Let's just get that out of the way. But yeah, I'm not going to name 8 people who I think, because listen, this list isn't terrible, although I wouldn't be me if I didn't point this out real fast. Nick Wright saying that he thinks that Pacheco is an incredibly underrated running back. We know Travis Kelce lit up the Ravens last time, and we know that he thinks that Rashee Rice he kept calling him, Jerry Rice, Jerry Rashee Rice or Rashee Jerry Rice. So again, can we put to bed that Patrick Mahomes had no help? Because according to Superfan Nick, he thinks that Pacheco is a top running back, Travis Kelce a top tight end, and Rice literally a top wide receiver in the NFL. So please stop telling me that Patrick Mahomes won with no help. Having an elite defense and clearly, according to Nick's opinion, top offensive weapons is not winning with nothing. Let's put that to bed. But anyway, let's focus on the topic here. Okay, Lamar Jackson absolutely has the most to gain tonight, quite frankly. But I know they're not going... It's not even that he has the most to gain tonight. I think Lamar has the most to lose tonight. Because if he wins and he wins big, I think it'll be hard for people to really be like, okay, you won, but this is a regular season game. You've always played well in the regular season. You need to prove that you can win in the playoffs. Okay, so I think actually he has the most to gain more because he has the most to lose. Where if he doesn't play well tonight, it's just going to be talked about for the next week. I mean, they're just going to talk about it honestly forever. Like, he can't beat Patrick Mahomes, he can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. What do the Ravens do? So it would be devastating for him, and it would be a very difficult way to start the season off, quite frankly. So he has the most to lose. Then I think it is Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has to kind of prove that he's not this old man, that he hasn't fallen off a cliff, that he is for real and he's ready to go, right? I think he has still a lot. He has that to prove. And I think it's justifiable to kind of question that. And then number 3, I'm actually going to put up the most to gain would be Xavier Worthy, because people are really looking to him to be like people are just fantasizing about him being this absolute lightning quick, explosive wide receiver for Patrick Mahomes. That if Xavier Worthy turns out to be who the Chiefs want him to be, they just won't be able to stop him. That it's just going to be an absolute insane offense. That they'll be back. Like, people in the comment section of my videos were literally telling me that they think that the Chiefs are going to average 40 points a game. That they're average like 38 to 40 a game, which is just... I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't. So, I think Xavier Worthy, if he balls out and has a big game, people are going to lose their mind and they're going to continue to talk about it. And so I think that he has the most to gain in that regard. Then I think it's actually going to then be Travis Kelce to prove that he's also not an old man, that he's also ready to go, that he hasn't fallen off a cliff, that he's not declining, that he is still ready to go and ready to ball out, and that Patrick Mahomes can still reliably rely on him. I think he's going to have to prove that. And quite frankly, he has to prove that every single year until he retires. It's just the way it goes. It's just the way it goes when you reach that age. He has to prove that he can still bring it, that he can still bring the intensity, that he doesn't look slow. Because before you know it, you are watching these players and you're going to start to say, oh, wow, Travis Kelce does look like he lost a step, or you know, it's like when he gets hit, it just doesn't it look like that he just takes a little bit longer to get up than he used to? And like that's what it turns into, right? Like that you hear the broadcast, you hear Aikman, Collinsworth, whoever start saying those things, and it's like, you know, he lost a step, but he can still do some damage on the blah blah blah. Like, and it's just he has to prove that he is still that dude, and that's just the way it goes. Then Flowers, I think, would be the next up to kind of prove as well that he can take this next step and be a reliable weapon for Lamar Jackson. Mature, right? Show that last year and how he did hurt his team. He did hurt the Ravens. That ended up being a good thing because he was forced to look in the mirror. He was forced to face his demons, and he was forced to grow up, mature, and be a leader and a top player for the Ravens because the Ravens need him. They need him to be a top player. They need Flowers to get the same hype that people are trying to build up Xavier Worthy, quite frankly. And that's it. That's honestly as far as I'm going to go. I'm sure there's a handful of other players, but I think at the end of the day, that's probably who has the most to gain. And I would probably add in Harbaugh, actually, because I do blame Harbaugh. I really put a lot of this blame on Harbaugh. As well as, I guess, the defensive coordinator for the Ravens to prove, since he's new, and that he kind of can prove that he's ready to go, that he can handle the Chiefs or come up with a good game plan and whatnot. I guess, like, technically, he would have a lot to gain as well. But I agree with what Nick said. Patrick Mahomes has 0 to gain tonight. 0. He has 0 to gain in any regular season game at this point. I 100% agree with Nick. Same thing with Andy Reid. If you're questioning, if you're still looking to learn something from Patrick Mahomes or Andy Reid, I don't know what to tell you. It's just, they're great, they're elite, and any regular season game, no matter who you're playing, there's just nothing to gain. There's nothing to learn, nothing. Even if both these teams were facing each other deep into the season, and they were both undefeated, 14-0, and they were, 14-0 record, and they were blowing teams out, blowing them out. They've won every single game, 45-0. The Chiefs and the Ravens are head-to-head, identical. Oh my God, this is the most historic two teams we've ever seen in the history of the NFL. Now they're playing each other, week 15, whatever. What are we going to learn? My answer would still be nothing for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, because it doesn't matter. It's all about the playoffs for them. They are chasing GOAT status. And as we've learned with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady, when you're talking about the GOATs, and same thing with LeBron James and Michael Jordan, when you're talking about the GOATs, it's all about how do you play in the playoffs? How do you play in the Super Bowls? Do you win? Really, at the end of the day, at this point, it's do you win? Because even when Patrick Mahomes doesn't even have a good game in the Super Bowl, his rating's like 85 or something. I was just talking about that with someone in the comments. Like, it doesn't even matter. It's not even held against him in any way, because it's just, did you win? Did you win the ring or not? That is the level of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Do you win the Super Bowl or not? It's very binary for them. It's a successful season if they win a Super Bowl. It's an unsuccessful season if they don't win the Super Bowl. They're going for GOAT status. So it's a good place to be for them. So yeah, nothing to gain for Mahomes or Andy Reid. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a couple other guys that can make some names for themselves and whatnot. But yeah, those names those situations are a little bit less important to me. And I don't think they have the most to gain out of a single night, right? Like it's going to be like over the season for some of these other people. Like Pacheco can't prove that he's an underrated running back in this one game, right? Like that's I disagree with that. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think? Who do you think has the most to gain tonight? What about some of the players that I said? What about Nick's list? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.